guys, it's your girl from Philly. Welcome to another episode of Handcrafted Wines, where we make great wine from home the fun and easy way. Before we get started, please remember to like, share, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you don't miss any episodes. In today's episode, we're going to be making apricot wine, and our ingredients are 4 pounds of frozen and thawed apricots, 3 cups of white sugar, our pectic enzyme to break down the cell walls and to give clarity to this batch, acid blend, our dynamic duo, which is our yeast nutrient and our yeast energizer. For our tannin today, we're going to be using green tea. And for our yeast, we're using Red Star Côte de Blanc. So let's get started. Now, the first step, of course, I'm going to dissolve the sugar in our fermenter. Then I'm going to tell you something about these apricots. We're going to use all 3 cups of our sugar. Don't want to spill any. There we go, 3 cups. And now we're going to add hot water to dilute it, to dissolve it. Okay, that should be enough. I didn't sanitize this fermenter because I just took it out of the dishwasher, so it's perfectly clean and sanitized. And I still feel quite a bit of crystals at the bottom of the fermenter. Yeah, it's very gritty. So let's keep stirring. Okay, that's completely dissolved. That looks good. There's a few crystals stirring around in there, but I won't worry about those. Now our straining bag, which I'm going to blitz with some star sand. It's badly stained, but it's still in good condition. Yep. There we go. Okay, now I can tell you about these apricots. I bought these apricots about, I want to say 6 weeks ago. They were on sale, but in beautiful condition. And I said, well, I'm going to make some apricot wine, but I never got around to it, and I didn't want them to go bad. So I cleaned them, prepared them. They had been soaked in Campden overnight, but once I put them in the freezer, that would have killed off any type of bacteria that was on the fruit anyway. When I thawed them out, it turned into this ugly, ugly brown mush. And they were the prettiest apricots when I got started, but they've totally disintegrated during their time in the freezer. So we don't have to worry about breaking them down because basically they've already broken down. It's basically apricot syrup at this point. So I'm going to add our apricots to the fermenter. Oh, making a little bit of a mess. Don't want to do that. Look at that. Ugh. It looks bad, but they're going to taste amazing. Now, apricots don't have a lot of pronounced flavors. They're not high in citric acid. They're very, very delicate. They don't even have the same punch that a peach would have, or even a plum, as far as a stone fruit. So I'm going easy on the ingredients that we have, which is why instead of using regular tannin, I'm using green tea, because this is going to be a delicate white wine when this is done. And that's also the reason why I chose Cote Blanc as the yeast for this batch. I see one apricot, one half of an apricot that didn't disintegrate. Look at that. Out of all of them, that's the only one that didn't disintegrate completely. Cote Blanc is a slow-acting yeast, and this will give it a chance to develop as much flavor as the apricots can possibly develop, because it will be a slow ferment. And this probably won't be ready to drink. I would give it longer than 6 months. I would give this at least 8 months before I would consider it a drinkable wine. When your fruit has less character, you want to give it more time, and you want to give it a slow acting yeast, so that as the yeast are eating the sugars in the batch, the actual flavors of the fruit have time to develop in the batch as well. Yep. Clean that up. I've done a couple spills on here. It's really mushy. I think maybe I'll try to pour it in. See how that goes. That was the only like half piece that I saw. So I'm going to see if pouring will work. So far, so good. Yep, that did it. It's basically, pulp. It's nectar. It's only one piece of solid fruit in the whole bag. Make sure I didn't spill any more. Okay. And I'm going to add the green tea bag. It's not necessary, but it won't hurt anything either. So I'm going to add that inside the straining bag as well. So that's our tannin, and that's a very light amount of tannin. The difference between black tea and green tea, along with the different types of leaves, is the fact that green tea is plucked early, and a full tea would be plucked late. Okay. So the color it's giving off is a very pretty golden color, and I'm hoping to retain that color. That's what I'd like to see. Okay. So got sugar water everywhere. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if you could see that color, but that's actually what I'd like to see when this batch is done. That very pretty golden shade. Now I'm going to add water to fill up the fermenter. This is room temperature water. Now, apricots are stone fruits like peaches and plums, which means they're high in pectin. And that means I definitely don't want to go to the very top of this jar, because this will have the potential to blow out. In fact, I think I'm going to sit this fermenter jar inside of a container, so that for the first week or two, if anything happens to blow over in the airlock, it would go into the container, not make a mess. Yeah, that's a very, very pretty shade. I didn't do a whole lot to it because I want to taste what flavor we will get from the apricot. So I didn't add lemon. I didn't add any spices or anything like that. I really want to taste the apricot when this is done. Okay, now for our usual players, we're putting in our pectic enzyme, which will definitely be needed in this batch. I use a little bit more than a half a teaspoon for this. I'm going to stir that up a little bit. Use that spoon. I saw it beginning to coagulate, so I might as well get it early. There we go. That's good. Now our acid blend. And this is a half a teaspoon of acid blend. Our dynamic duo, we definitely need the yeast nutrient and yeast energizer to support this batch, just to bring out as much flavor as it possibly can. We want to keep our yeast healthy so that they continue to work, especially since this won't be very fast acting. Okay, now I didn't take the hydrometer reading, but I'll take it right now before we add our yeast. And I'm not expecting a very, very high reading, something moderate. That's our yeast nutrient is coagulating. There we go. Break that bubble. And I just want to make sure I incorporate all the sugar so that the reading is accurate. There we go. Let's see what we have here. Now we're going to take our hydrometer reading. That's such a pretty sunshine gold. I really hope it stays that shade. I did see the color of the fruit oxidize some during the thawing process, so let's hope that we don't have any more color changes. We're almost there, guys. I think one or two more will do it to get us to our 250. Yeah, one more milliliters for testing. There we are, 250 milliliters exactly. And now we'll add our hydrometer. So it came in right at the blue line, which is good. Let's see what our reading is. So it's exactly at 1.100. And according to my hydrometer, that would bring us to, where's the percentages? About, it looks like 12% ABV, but of course I'm going to put that into brewersfriend.com and see exactly what we have. And that was 1.100. Is that right? Yes, 1.100. So according to brewersfriend.com, if this were to ferment to 0.990, our ABV would be 14.44%. I seriously doubt that it will ferment to that dry. I'm thinking that we'll probably get anywhere between 12.5 to 13% on this. I don't expect this to be a very, very dry wine. And because it's a slow acting yeast, we're not going to get as much alcohol out of this batch as we would if we were using like a Premier Classique or a Premier Rouge. Okay, now I'm going to add our yeast. I see it hydrating, but it's moving slowly, but it's supposed to. It's supposed to hydrate slowly. It's supposed to ferment slowly. Now we're going to add our drill hole with our grommet. This is a very, very delicate batch, and I want to take my time with it. And we'll be adding star sand to our airlock. "17 pumps fills it up perfectly. So there we go. I mean, I see some activity. Not as much as I would see if I was using Premier Classique. But we want this to move slow. We want it to take its time during its fermentation. So my timeline is going to be a little bit different for this one. I'm going to say we'll have wine in about 4 weeks. We will have, and I'm going to check this every day, of course, because I'm expecting it to have some kind of volatile activity to it. But we should have wine in, I would say, about 4 months. It would be good wine in about 8 months, and drinkable wine, I would give it over a year before I would feel like it's developed all the flavors that it possibly can, the aroma and things like that. So it's dissolving quickly, but you know how we get the activity with Premier Classic where before we're finished our episode, it's moved down in the batch and it's already moving up and it's getting active. I don't see that so much with this, which means it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. See some pressure in the airlock, but not a whole lot. Okay, well, that's it for our apricot wine. Again, our ingredients were 4 pounds of frozen apricots that have been thawed, 3 cups of sugar, and our usual players. And instead of tannin, we used green tea instead. So that's it for this episode of Handcrafted Wines. Again, please like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, make your own wine, comment below and let me know how your wine is going. I'd love to hear about it. Have a fantastic day, guys. Bye-bye.